Hello, my name's Charlie Blairelephant and you're watching the Ardblair Stones YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. In the previous episode, I chatted about the build-up to the 2013 Blairgowrie Rattray Highland Games, and in this episode I'm going to talk about the 2013 Blairgowrie Rattray Highland Games, which was the first event that the Ardblair Stones ever took place at. I hope you enjoy the show. So the first event for the Ardblair Stones, Blairgowrie Rattray Highland Games, I can't remember the date, but it was the first Sunday in 2013. Everything was set up, you know, the barrels were there. I mean, it looked quite imposing with the 9 barrels and the 9 stones. It was different, you know, it was, it was quite spectacular looking. A bit different at the Highland Games, and it wasn't long before people started to have a go. Obviously nobody had heard of the Ardblair Stones, and there was nothing on social media about it, and I should look back on the sheets. I think I was possibly the first person to lift them, but I can't remember now. But it was incredibly popular. And one of the things I really underestimated and hadn't expected, I naively thought that maybe a few men would do it. I never appreciated actually how competitive the women would be. And I'd made 5 trophies altogether. And that was going to be for the top 5, irrespective if they were male or female or anything. That was going to be the trophies. And they were going to be free as well, as they still are. You know, if people do the Ardblair Stones, they're free, and they get a trophy, and that's free as well. And very often they get a free T-shirt too. Anyway, the women were really competitive, and the top 5 people were male athletes, but then I realised after that event I really needed to have another category. Luckily I had some spare trophies, and they were of like a larger variety as well. Like in the early days there were these big round ones here, and I don't know why I went for those. I think these ones don't come with bases, but yeah, I found latterly that these smaller ones are much easier to take around. But anyway, so I after that event I needed to have a section for women as well, because they're very competitive and it seemed only fair. So I still kept the 5, and then I had another 3 for women. So that ended up being 8 trophies that were handed out, and yeah, there was some backlash, like some people were saying, how come the men get 5 trophies and the women get 3 trophies? But actually what in effect originally it had been was 5 trophies, which I thought was generous for everybody. So rather than just 3, I thought 5 across the board. But there was 8 for a long time, but it wasn't, as I say, it wasn't a sexist thing. It was just because I didn't feel comfortable taking away that original 5. So that's what happened, and it was really popular. I was kind of blown away really by its popularity, and one of the great things about the Stones is that there's so many sort of tourists and things do it in foreign countries, and they're signing a disclaimer and everything, and you get a real sense of just how sort of on a world scale the Highland Games are, and how many people are prepared to have a go. So yeah, that was extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And as I say, I don't really have many pictures of that day. I remember at the end, towards the end after the heavy event, some of the heavy events athletes came over to have a shot. And I remember Bruce Robb had a go, and Lorne Coulthard actually he won that event. Although there was a bit of controversy because with Lorne's run, and obviously I'm delighted that he came over and he's a well-known figure in the Highland Games, in the heavy events, and yeah, he's kind of up to the top there. But I have got this no tacky rule, and as I explained in an earlier video, tackies are sticky stuff that you rub on your forearms, which gives you extra grip. Now, I can't have tacky on the stones because the stones are all inclusive to everybody, and it's not fair for somebody who's maybe trying this for the first time to get their clothes all covered in a horrible sticky mess and have grass and just filth stuck to these stones. It's not fair. And it gives people an unfair advantage, and quite honestly I don't really want to have to deal with stones in that condition. So there is strictly a no tacky rule, although chalk is acceptable if required. So yeah, so getting back to lawn, nobody managed all 9 stones sequentially in a run that day. What actually happened was I'd love it if Lorne had managed it. I really would have loved it. And there were some articles in the press saying that he had got it. But what actually had happened was that Lorne had a go, and he'd done 8. And the local photographer was there the day, and he was wanting to take a picture of Lorne standing next to the 8th stone, which he'd loaded. Now, I didn't realise this was what was going on, and obviously I was starting to reset for the next. I don't like calling them competitors. I think of them as participants because, okay, there is a competitive element to it, but to myself, that I think the focus is people bettering themselves, and it's like participation and being involved in the Highland Games, and if they do well, great, and if not, well, that's fine too. So I've always been a bit wary of, I always call it participating rather than competing, because I think there is a difference. But yeah, Lorne, the local photographer was there for the newspaper, and I started to roll the stones off the barrels in anticipation of the next run. Now, I didn't realise this. I only became aware of this when I heard some choice words, you could say, from behind the barrels, and yeah, it's not an easy feat loading that 8th stone on a whim, and so I said to Lorne, look, Lorne, I'm sorry about this. The local paper said, like, to take a photograph of you next to the barrel, next to the 8th stone. So he obligingly came over and he lifted the 8th onto the barrel. So he'd actually lifted the 8th twice that day onto the barrel. So an incredible feat. And then there was he kind of wandered off after his photo, and then there was a bit of a pause, and he was kind of persuaded to lift the 9th stone. So unfortunately, he went to his bag and he put tacky resin on his hands, and I didn't really mind, because to my mind the 9th stone is an absolute beast, and it was the first time the stones had ever been out in public or tried, and I didn't really think that many people, if any, at that stage were capable of lifting that 9th stone. So in the interest of getting the crowd going, and there was a lot of people were there watching what was going to happen, so he did use tacky. So I've always classed that as an exhibition lift, and there's going to be no more tacky lifts. I know the stones can be lifted without tacky. A lot of people now, well, a handful, but it's not unheard of for the heaviest stone to be lifted now. So tacky is still a complete write-off, but this was an exception. It was the first event, and yeah, he did get it. So there's pictures of Lorne next to the 9th stone, having lifted it, loaded it onto the barrel, which he did, but again there was tacky involved. So strictly speaking, it wasn't sequential, and it wasn't really within the rules, although it was a monumental achievement, particularly loading the 8th one twice and doing the 9th one, well, once, yeah, incredible. I remember another thing about that first event, that the Fenter brothers were there, there was Sebastian. Now Sebastian came second in World's Strongest Man competition, and I can't remember the exact date. Somebody can probably comment down below in the comments section, and we'll know the answer to that. So Sebastian was there, obviously a huge guy, very able, strong, tends to win the heavy events when he's taking part of them, and his brother Lucas. So Lucas came over for a shot, and I think from memory he got to about the 7th stone. The thing about the stones is they're quite different from the heavy events. People now, strong men are kind of getting involved with the stones, and they kind of know what they're doing because they train them and they're familiar with the techniques. But a lot of the heavy eventers who you'd expect to do well because they're phenomenally strong, it's just not a skill that that's a technique necessarily they're familiar with. And there is a lot of technique to stone lifting. I mean, that's probably something we could cover in another video. But it just brute strength on its own. It's more than that, really. And so some of these guys struggle, to be fair. And again, it's a testament to Lorne, just how phenomenally strong he is. I don't think he has any history of that kind of lift. So it just shows how strong he was. That brute strength kind of took over. So yeah, Sebastian Venter. I was kind of hoping he would have a shot because he came over with his brother, and now Sebastian was pacing up and down and like a caged lion, and I think there would have been an expectation on him to have lifted all 9. And he did ask me if he could use tacky, and I said no, you can't use tacky. And he didn't do it. He didn't do the stones. He was interested in it, and he watched it, and I was kind of a bit disappointed he never had a shot, but his brother did. And but yeah, that would have been interesting to have for the first ever stones event to have had a second place World's Strongest Man to have tackled them. But anyway, I think I've pretty much covered the first event. And we looked at the origins of the event earlier in another video. So I think what I'll do is I'll say if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the Ardblair Stones YouTube channel, and I will think about the topic for the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this one. So until then, I will speak to you soon. Cheers, bye.